Over a century later, the tragedy of the RMS Titanic remains one of the most compelling and heartbreaking maritime disasters in history. But was it just a terrible accident? Or something far darker? We know the legend, the largest, most luxurious ship of its time, deemed unsinkable. But beneath the veneer of luxury and engineering marvel lay a series of critical flaws and compromises. The Titanic set sail on its maiden voyage in April 1912, carrying the hopes and dreams of over 2,200 people. Its status as an engineering triumph was heavily promoted, contributing to a fatal sense of invincibility. On the night of April 14th, that confidence shattered. At 11:40 p.m., the Titanic scraped against an iceberg, a seemingly minor incident that would rapidly seal the fate of the great ship. The focus often rests on the iceberg, but evidence suggests the Titanic's structural integrity was compromised long before it met the ice. The disaster was less about the hit and more about how the ship responded to it. One dark truth centers on the materials used. Investigations have highlighted the use of subpar iron rivets in critical sections of the hull, particularly the bow. These rivets may have been brittle and prone to failure in the freezing North Atlantic temperatures. Experts argue that in the race to build the biggest ship, corners were cut in the shipyards. These construction shortcuts compromised the integrity of the watertight compartments, turning the supposedly beyond material flaws. Human decisions played a fatal role. Speed, coupled with a dismissive attitude towards warnings, created a collision course with disaster. It is widely speculated that Captain Edward Smith, eager to end his illustrious career with a memorable triumph, pushed the Titanic to a near maximum speed, perhaps in an unofficial attempt to beat transatlantic crossing records. Crucially, the Titanic's wireless operators received multiple explicit warnings about heavy ice fields ahead from other vessels. Tragically, these warnings were largely disregarded or failed to reach the bridge with the necessary urgency until it was too late. The deadliest truth of the Titanic disaster lies in the inadequacy of its safety measures and the stark societal divisions that determined who lived and who perished. Despite its capacity for over 3,500 people, the Titanic carried only 20 lifeboats, enough for just 1,178 passengers. This was a consequence of adhering to outdated government regulations based on tonnage, not passenger numbers. The chaos of the evacuation revealed a horrifying truth. Your ticket class often dictated your chances of survival. First-class passengers had significantly higher survival rates than those in steerage, often due to their proximity to the lifeboats and clearer access routes. In the wake of the sinking, official inquiries were launched on both sides of the Atlantic, but many believe these investigations were less about finding the complete truth and more about controlling the narrative. The official reports predominantly focused on the external factor, the iceberg collision. This successfully minimized scrutiny on the ship's design flaws, the quality of its construction, and the culpable negligence of its operators. The darker truth is that evidence of negligence, cost-cutting, and compromised safety standards were either downplayed or actively suppressed during the official inquiries, allowing the builders and owners to escape full accountability. The tragedy of the Titanic was a complex culmination of errors, not just a chance encounter with ice, but a disaster rooted in human hubris, technological arrogance, and systemic negligence. The disaster did ultimately lead to crucial reforms in maritime safety, including mandatory 24-hour wireless watch and requirements for adequate lifeboats for every person on board. These lives were not lost entirely in vain. The dark truth behind the Titanic is a cautionary tale about believing too fiercely in technology, ignoring warnings, and allowing class divisions to dictate human value. It is the enduring legacy of hubris and neglect.